Welcome. Come in. Don't be scared. At least, not yet. Beauty, they say, is in the eye of the beholder. It could be a work of art. It could be a piece of music. It could be that beautiful face staring back at you from inside the jar on your shelf. Beauty comes in many forms, such as the beautiful Eva in tonight's Detestable Delight. Eva is working as an au pair in England for a widower and his young daughter. And Beauty has been very good to Eva. But tonight, Eva is about to learn that beauty can be very deadly. The deeper it goes. Gather round. Look into the light. Look. Look deep. Open your imagination and listen to the story called The Deep End. She treaded water in the deep end, observing screaming brats with quiet distaste. They circled the pool, pushing, splashing, and causing havoc. Eva's eyes lingered on Sophie. She swam by herself in the abandoned corner of the shallow pool, dunking her head beneath the water and emerging again after several seconds like a seal pup. Eva rubbed her forehead, blaming the migraine on the over-chlorinated water. She despised swimming. Only Toby, the charismatic young lifeguard she befriended, made the weekly ordeal worthwhile. He patrolled the other side of the pool now, his eyes alert and ready for action. She admired his trapezius muscles bursting out of his Aurelian t-shirt and his masculine thighs concealed beneath the scarlet shorts. To quench her lust, she sank below the surface like an anchor, feeling the increased pressure as her feet brushed against the bottom of the pool. Eva opened her eyes underwater, bathing in the blissful silence, watching the children's silhouettes kicking, but no longer screaming. The water drowned their voices. One of the drains caught her eye. A long tuft of black hair, very much like her own, floated from the tiny hole. Her finger stretched towards the entangled filament, but she could hold her breath no longer. When her head popped up, the baby-faced Toby beamed at her. The color of the pool matched his eyes, and she wondered what it would be like if she could bathe in them, swim in them, every day.
Aren't you supposed to be watching Sophie instead of the bottom of our pool?
Eva rested her elbows on the edge of the pool.
Why do I need to watch her when you are here?
She said, producing her most seductive smile. He sheepishly averted his eyes. Eva's sexy melodic accent caused the embarrassment rather than her smile, which he also found agreeable.
You're not very passionate about your job, are you?
Honestly, no, I'm not. I only applied to be an au pair because I wanted to experience a different culture. Bulgaria is such a backward nation full of simpletons, and I have always dreamed of visiting sophisticated countries like England or America. Of course, I come from a poor family, so my parents could never afford to finance my trip. A friend of mine recommended a student agency that specialized in placing young girls into families abroad to help them with childcare, light cooking, etc.
So you're basically a servant.
I hate to admit it, but yeah. The agency only failed to mention how fucking spoiled this child was going to be. English kids are so poorly disciplined. That's the biggest cultural shock I've had so far, I think. Bulgarian children might be poor, but their lives are enriched with simple happiness and activities like running around in the forest, climbing trees, playing games, not shacked up in their little rooms, Skyping on their phones all day. Their parents are practically robbing them of their childhood by supporting this brainwashing technology age we live in.
I know what you mean. I grew up like that. My folks are outdoorsy people too, and most of my childhood was spent outside playing sports. Guess it depends on the parents rather than nationalities.
True, but Sophie is spoiled. Plus, she hates my guts. Gerard, her dad, told me that her mother died of leukemia last year, and obviously he needed domestic help. He works in London as some kind of sales executive and is hardly ever home. He decided to hire an au pair because he wanted his daughter to learn about other cultures. I taught her that the city that I'm from is spelled almost the same as her name, Sophia. She liked that. I knew the job would entail cooking, cleaning, taking and collecting Sophie from school. But most people never read the small print, like washing Gerard's shit-smeared boxers.
No running!
He yelled at the boys on the other side of the pool. The display of authority, the sudden change in his voice, that savage dominance turned her on.
So, why does she hate you?
Well, my theory is that she is jealous of the attention I get from Gerard. After the death of her mother, she got used to the fact that she was the center of his universe. She didn't have to compete for his attention. But now, when she sees us joking and laughing together, she doesn't like it.
Eva glanced at the giant clock above the pool.
Shit, is that the time? We're late. Gerard's picking us up today.
Okay, see you next Saturday.
Eva nodded, collecting Sophie and smiling warmly.
By the way, you might want to check out your drains. There's a load of hair down there.
Her accent thickened, and he failed to understand the full sentence, but grinned anyway. His eyes devoured Eva's voluptuous body as she walked away. Like a hen pecking corn off the ground, Eva pecked dirty clothes off various places in Sophie's pink room, cursing quietly in Bulgarian. The little girl observed her slave, smirking.
Did you have fun swimming today?
Eva asked, picking up a dirty sock.
No, I don't want to go anymore. The pool scares me. Morgan scares me. He was mean to me today because of you. He hates you.
The tropical temperature in the room intensified Eva's ongoing migraine. She sat on the bed next to Sophie.
Who's Morgan? Why would he hate me?
He's my friend and he just does.
But I've never even seen him.
It doesn't matter. He saw you and he doesn't like you.
Who is he? One of the other kids. Perhaps you can introduce me to Morgan next week if he's there, and I'll show him how nice I really am.
I don't want to. He's scary. He's always there in the pool.
I'm sure he's not as scary as you think. Sophie, we'll talk to him next week. Now get in bed and I'll tuck you in.
Eva closed the door behind her and strolled into the not-too-distant living room. Why would Sophie say such horrible things to her? Was jealousy really the root of the problem? She searched her memory, but did not recall seeing Sophie talking to anyone. Perhaps she missed something while she flirted with Toby. Gerard nestled on the couch, his eyes spellbound by the telly. He did not even register Eva entering the room. She immediately knew why. A bottle of Kraken, his favorite black rum, stood on the table, a quarter already consumed. She lingered there in the shadows, watching him. He looked sad. Eva assumed he still missed his wife. His static eyes seemed far away, the program a mere background noise. After a while, she realized it was the dancing flame of the candle that mesmerized him. She cleared her throat and sat next to him.
Hey, there she is. How are you? How did the swimming go?
Gerard asked, his voice dulled with liquor.
Fine, thanks. I see you're having fun by yourself,
Said Eva, trying not to sound bitter. Gerard fingered the glass on his lap. The high-pressure job, reflected in his many wrinkles, troubled her. She noticed his daily alcohol intake increased too.
How can I have fun when you're not here?
Eva removed the glass from his grasp.
Listen, we need to talk. It might not be the best time for it, but I need to get it off my chest.
She began, watching his eyes struggling to focus.
Sophie's been acting strange these last couple of weeks, and she doesn't want to go swimming anymore. The pool scares her.
Of course it scares her. She's 9 years old. Every child is scared of water. They're scared of drowning.
Well, she doesn't seem to be scared of drowning. Apparently, she's scared of Morgan.
Morgan? I take it that you're referring to one of the other kids, and not the Welsh water spirit.
Water spirit? What are you talking about?
Well, I used to read stories to Sophie when she was little about Morgans. They were known to lure men to their deaths by their sylphic beauty, or with glimpses of underwater gardens with buildings of gold and crystal.
Shut up, Gerard. This is important. I think she's not coping with the scenario very well. You know, us being together. She's obviously still upset about Cynthia's death and is not comfortable with the idea of me replacing her mom.
I know. But we're taking things slowly, aren't we? The longer you're around, the more she'll get used to your presence and might accept the fact that you're part of this family.
And if she doesn't, will you discard me like a piece of garbage? Look, it's obvious that Sophie loves you dearly and doesn't want to share you with anyone else, especially me. I'm starting to think that she's invented this Morgan as a way to express her hatred for me. Or maybe she feels isolated, so she's created an imaginary friend. Sophie is a very solitary child. She's not interacting with the other kids as much as she should.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of solitude. I was isolated as a child, and I turned out fine. Isolation will give her the opportunity to read books. It will help her to focus on other things, significant things, not slacking outside and getting corrupted by outsiders. Maybe she's slightly jealous of us being together, but she'll get over it soon enough. You'll see. Just ignore it.
Eva sighed and crossed her arms. 6 months had passed since she became a part of this family, and only 2 months since she began sleeping with Gerard. She loved him, despite the shocking age gap. She preferred older men. They were wiser, more settled, and definitely more skilled in the bedroom.
Let me brush your hair,
Gerard offered, out of the blue. He adored her hair. They reminded him of the ethereal Rapunzel from the fairy tale by Brothers Grimm. Rapunzel's hair was so long that she could wrap it around a hook beside the window, dropping it down to the prince so he could climb up to her lonely tower. Except they were blonde, not raven black like Eva's. Gerard ran the brush through her rich mane, sniffing a strand in his hand that still reeked of chlorine.
I've got this awful premonition.
Don't be silly. Sophie likes you very much, as do I. She just needs a bit more time to adjust, that's all.
Eva attempted a smile, but it was not sincere. She dreamed the darkest of dreams that night. They entered the swimming area, and Eva's eyes immediately locked on the lifeguard seat. It wasn't Toby who sat on it. Disappointment spread through her like a plague of locusts. She grasped Sophie's hand in hers and walked towards the pool, avoiding a bunch of screaming kids who shoved past them.
I'm scared. I don't want to swim today.
Sophie groaned.
What are you scared of? Oh, yes, I remember. You're scared of Morgan, right? Is he here today? Show him to me.
Sophie bowed her head, nibbling at her lower lip.
He's always here, hiding in the pool.
Well, show me where he's hiding and we'll talk to him together.
No, I'm scared he might hurt you.
I'm a big girl from a rough country. I can handle myself.
She winked at Sophie.
Maybe later.
Sophie slipped out of her hand and bombed into the partially empty pool, a rarity on a Saturday afternoon.
Fine, have it your way as usual.
Eva observed from a distance once again, leaving the girl to her own devices. She still contemplated how spoiled and pampered English children were. Nothing made her blood boil more than seeing a 7-year-old child spilling out of a pram. She'd had no such luxury in Bulgaria. Her father made her walk everywhere as a child. Only when her legs truly tired did he swing her onto his shoulders. But none of this pram shit.
Damn these parents and their selfishness. It is all about what is convenient for them, never mind the child.
She began to get seriously bored and missed flirting with Toby. She missed his baby face and blue eyes, his smile and good nature. Eva loved Gerard, but Toby certainly was worth sending for. It started to get busy now. More mothers entered the pool with their offspring. Eva grinned at the scene unfolding before her eyes. The pool resembled a giant pot of children, crammed in, overspilling, screaming and slowly roasting above the flames. If only she could be the imp and poke them with her fork.
He wants to meet you now.
Sophie declared, snapping Eva out of her reverie.
Sorry, darling. Who wants to meet me?
Morgan, he's down there waiting for you.
Eva followed her finger, pointing towards the deep end of the pool.
There's no one there, Sophie.
Yes, there is. Morgan's down there hiding in the bottom.
You want us to swim to the deep end of the pool? That's not a good idea, honey. You're too young and you might drown.
But he's there waiting for us.
Eva blinked several times. What was wrong with this child? Was she winding her up? Was this all a big joke to her? Did Gerard put her up to this? Why would he? If this carried on, she would suggest to him that his daughter needed to see a psychiatrist. This surpassed normal behavior.
I tell you what. You stay here, be a good girl, and I'll dive down there and take a look. Deal?
Sophie thought about it for a split second.
Okay, but be careful. I don't know what he wants from you.
Don't worry, darling. He probably wants to tell me in secret how beautiful you are and if he can have your number.
Eva joked, disgusted with her attempt at flattery.
Yes, that's it. Spoil her even more. But I need to win her over somehow. You take a seat over there on the bench and I'll be back in a minute, darling,
She said, wrapping her in a giant Mickey Mouse towel like candy floss on a stick. Eva walked cautiously along the edge of the pool, right towards the end. She read the sign, deep end, depth, 5 meters, as if to reassure herself that this was the right place. She stared into the water, watching tiny waves form on the surface. The bottom appeared so close, yet so far. It glittered in the light, inviting her, calling her. She wasn't the strongest swimmer, but did not fear water. She waved to Sophie and took a deep breath, diving into the pool with eyes open, swimming ever deeper towards the bottom. She held her nose and equalized her ears. The pressure surprised her, even at 5 meters. Eva glided effortlessly along the bottom of the pool, looking in all directions and eager to find Sophie's mysterious friend. The filthy drain she noticed last week caught her attention again. She could no longer see any hair floating from it, but decided to take a closer look anyway. She swam towards it, running her fingers over the smooth surface of the opening. Eva gazed into it for a few seconds, when she heard a feeble whisper behind her. She flipped around towards the sound, her long Rapunzel hair floating all around. She regretted not tying it up. The water revealed nothing but blurry images of children's legs. The temperature of the pool dropped, and soon she would run out of air. Eva began to surface, but an invisible force yanked her hair from behind. Her heart hammered as she desperately struggled to turn around, realizing that her long hair must have gotten tangled in the drain. Panic kicked in. She could not breathe. She could not swim. She could not escape. She could only scream, and scream she did, although it wasn't really a scream, but more of a yelp. Eva watched bubbles slip out from her mouth as she struggled to free herself. The water turned murkier, and darkness swallowed all. As instructed, Sophie sat on the bench, smiling and humming. She watched the minutes pass on the enormous clock above the pool. How long has it been now? 10 minutes? Maybe more? A lifeguard noticed Sophie at last from his little tower. He climbed down and sat next to her.
Hello, are you okay?
Yes, thank you.
Replied Sophie, like a good girl.
A young girl like you should be accompanied by an adult at all times. You know, we don't want any drowning accidents. Where's your mother?
My mother's dead.
Answered Sophie, gazing at the clock and wondering if Morgan had succeeded.
Eva should have stayed in the area of the pool she was most comfortable, the shallow end. But she was trying her best to appease Sophie. Too bad Sophie didn't want a new mommy. So she drove Eva off the deep end, for good. I hope you enjoyed tonight's tale. Until the next one, won't you stay the night?